This question says, convert to millimeters, 0.94 centimeters. Because within a previous video, we did 4.81 millimeters or meters already. So it's a convert 2 millimeters, 0.94 centimeters. So if you have 0.94 centimeters, how many millimeters is that? So let's begin the four-step ratio process. So the first step is the labeling, and we have to use the letters or the words that are involved in our units. And our units now is centimeters to millimeters. So we can use cm for centimeters and mm for millimeters. So we're going to do this using the ratio approach. We're going to do this using the fraction approach. Centimeters to millimeters as the first step. After the labeling ratio, the second ratio must have two numbers. The second ratio must have two numbers. One for the centimeters and one for the millimeters in that case. Must have two numbers. The second ratio must have two numbers. How much centimeters to millimeters? If you have a centimeter, how much millimeters is that? Let's check our notes. Or you might have it off your head, off your memory. So according to our notes, 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. So we have a 1 and a 10 involved in our second ratio, 1 and 10. 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. So on the centimeters, we're going to put the number 1. And on the millimeters, we're going to put 10. That's ratio. If you want to do that fraction form, on the centimeters, we put in 1. On the millimeters, we put in 10. Now, the third ratio must have one number and a letter. The letter is what you're trying to find. So the third ratio must have one number and a letter. As you can see, it's 3 ratios. Labeling with the values, the second ratio have the values, 2 numbers, and the third ratio must have a number and a letter. Let's go to the question. It says 0.94 centimeters. So that 0.94 must come under 7 centimeters. And we're trying to find millimeters, so that's where the X have to go. 0.94 under centimeters, and we're trying to find millimeters, so that's where the X goes. X, when somebody asks you what is X, X is the unknown. X is the variable, what you're trying to find. Okay, anytime you're doing mathematics and you see the letter X, X is the unknown variable. We're trying to solve for it. We don't know what it is. It could be 10, it could be 1, it could be 8, it could be any number we're trying to solve for X. So therefore now we're going to apply what you call cross multiply and divide, or divide and cross multiply. And as we say, take note, when you are cross multiplying and dividing, that's for 2 ratios and 2 fractions, you always divide by the number diagonally away from the letter, slanting away from the letter. So the letter is X. So we have to divide by the number which is diagonally away from the letter. We have to divide by 1. In our cross multiplication and divide process, not just cross multiply. If anybody tell you cross multiply, tell them you're missing a very important word, or words, and divide. Not just multiply alone, cross multiply and divide. So we have to divide by 1. So therefore now let's do that. X is equal to, let's do our division, and 1 comes under the division sign. X is equal to the division sign, and 1 comes under. So we establish we must divide by 1, and the multiplication is easy. So we have to multiply by 0.94 and 10, 0.94 times 10, or 10 times 0.94. It doesn't matter which one comes first, because multiplication is commutative. 0.94 times 10 is the same as 10 times 0.94. and multiplying by multiples of 10 is very simple. You just shift the decimal point, the number of zeros in that number. We have only 1 0, so the decimal point must shift only once. So it's 9.4 millimeters. X is equal to 9.4 millimeters. So final answer, 0.94 centimeters is 9.4 millimeters. Bear in mind, remember we said that 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. Okay, now 0.94 is less than 1, a little bit less than 1. So the millimeters haven't reached 10 yet, you see? So that's why it's 9.4 millimeters, because the 0.94 haven't reached 1, so the 9.4 haven't reached 10, almost there. 0.94 centimeters is actually 9.4 millimeters.